I found this video on Zoe from Zoe's All's Booked. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with the Birthstone Book Tag. So I'm not one of those people who's like, it's my birthday month, but like June is my birthday month, so it felt like this was the most appropriate time to do this tag. And this tag is basically just like you go through the birthstones based on what they are and what they mean. There are questions for them. So that's what we're going to do today. So I will leave the original down below. I believe I found it, so I'm going to leave that down below. But I saw this on Zoe from Zoe's All Booked channel. Like last year. I think she did this last year, and it looked like fun, so I kept putting it off, and so today we're gonna finally do it. So I have my questions ready to go. They're kind of longish, but there are 12 of them, obviously. I will leave them linked down below if you would like to do this tag yourself. But let's get started. So the first one is obviously January, and that is Garnet, which is associated with warding off negative forces and dark energies. So for this one, it is name a book with the darkest / evilest character you can think of. This took a lot, but this one makes the most sense to me. I'm going to go with Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, specifically Corey Fields. Now, I say that he is the evilest because of the fact that this is a contemporary, and the stuff that he does in this book is just horrific and disgusting. And the fact that it is contemporary and that this stuff happens in real life. Like most fantasy books, like the evil characters are based on real things, but none of the things that they do could happen in real life. This happened in real life. This is happening in real life. And so I think that's why this one to me makes the most sense for this character. He's like the grossest person ever. So that's my answer. The next one is February, which is Amethyst, and purple is associated with royalty. So name a book with regal qualities. It can be based on a character, or it can be the king of all books, kind of like whatever you want. I'm going to go based on a character. For this one, I'm going to choose Who I Was With Her by Nita Tyndall, specifically our main character, Corinne, because this book, I've talked about a ton, but this book basically follows Corinne as she learns of the death of her girlfriend. But they've been secretly dating, so no one knows that A, Corinne is even interested in girls, and B, that she's been dating this girl for, I think they were together for about a year. And so she's like having to keep herself kind of under check while she is figuring out how to grieve for this woman that she loved, but also like the fact that she can't talk to anyone about it because no one knew they were together. So I say she had some very regal qualities because like while she's dealing with loss, it's a very tough thing to deal with. She specifically deals with it in many different ways, and maybe not all of us are the best, but she holds herself together really well for most of this book, and I think it's fun. Also, I love this book. It's fantastic. So the next one is March, which is AQUAMARINE, which is kind of like washed out. So name a wishy-washy character, or a character who is not strong or a follower. So for this one, I'm going to go with Riona from Never Love a Highlander by Maya Banks, which I read last month. So you will have seen it in my wrap-up. But she was described as being different, I guess, because she liked to wear pants. She liked to fight. She didn't like doing like the womanly, wifely duties, if that makes sense. She wanted to go out and protect the people that she loved. So that's kind of like what the author was going for, but what actually happened was she couldn't decide because she had a very, very strong husband who wanted her to be a wife, and so like she would go back and forth between, I'm gonna stand up for what I believe in and who I am, but I'm also just gonna do what my husband wants because he said so. And so like she would go back and forth from being strong to not strong, and I was like, I'm gonna need you to figure out who you are and stop going back and forth of, am I this or am I this? I'm not sure. Like you can be both, but be confident in both, I guess. And she was not. She was all over the place. The next one is April, which is Diamond, and that is a diamond in the rough. Name a book that you loved but is not well known. I talk about this book all of the time on this channel, and I feel like I don't know anybody who's ever read it besides me, and that is Roaring by Lindsay Duga. So this is a self-published or indie published, I'm not entirely sure, book that I got the arc of on NetGalley right before it came out, I think last year sometime, and I loved this book. I thought it was fantastic. I talk about it all of the time, and I've never seen anybody else who read this book, so I'm gonna need some people to read this book so we can chat together. But it basically is set in kind of like the Roaring 20s, but if magical mythical creatures existed. And so we follow two main characters. One is a siren, but she doesn't know she's a siren. She just knows that her talking and singing voice can make people do things, so she doesn't ever really talk. And then we also follow this guy who is part of what I can imagine as like the FBI for magical creatures, and so he's trying to like hunt down these sirens because they are thought of as like super dangerous because they can make people do whatever they want them to do. And so it's the two of them kind of running from a lot of different people. And so like there's so many fantastical creatures in this book. I loved the very kind of like scientific explanation of how these creatures became who they are. And it's very not the happiest when it comes to some aspects of this, but I personally love this book. I think it's incredible. I really am due for a reread. It was so much fun. And I've never heard anyone talk about this. So y'all are missing out. Sirens. What more do I need to say? The next is May, which is Emerald, and that is said to be like a balance of energy. And that is to name two characters who balance each other out. So for this one, I'm going to go with Nick and Charlie from the Heartstopper graphic novels by Alice Oseman. They are the cutest couple, first off, ever. But I think they balance each other out very well because they're both dealing with a lot, but they are very different and yet similar all at the same time. Like in the first volume, we have Nick, who is out and proud, and then we have Charlie, who is kind of figuring out what his sexuality is. And then as these volumes continue, their relationship grows. They deal with, you know, harder topics, rougher mental health and things like that. But the two of them together are just like the perfect healthy couple. They're there for each other. They support each other. They may not always agree, but like they're going to be there and they're going to work it out. And I just think that they are incredible. Next one is June, which is the Pearl. That is associated with loyalty. So name a character who is loyal to till the end. So for this one, I'm going to go with the best friend June from Makeup Breakup by Lily Menon. I, first off, love this book, but this is a romance book that follows two app creators, one named Anika and one named Hudson, and they both have created apps. Anika has created Makeup, Hudson has created Breakup, and Anika's convinced that Hudson has basically stolen her idea. And she is struggling to keep her company afloat. It's her and her friend June, and June is a programmer, and Anika's like the brain of everything, and they are struggling to keep afloat. And June comes from money, and she's offered so many times to help bail out this company, and Anika's like, no, like we need to do this on our own. But like, even though this company looks like it's going to fail, June is there right by her side the entire time, regardless of what crazy shenanigans go on in this book, regardless of how stupid she is about it, whether or not she likes Hudson or not. And June's just there for her, and till the end, and then some. Like, she's gonna be there until the day this company folds, if it does. And I think that's great to see these two characters just like A, be really close friends, B, be able to work together, and then also like, even though it's not the best and ideal situation right now, they're kind of struggling because they're like a startup company. They're gonna do everything they can until the very end. They're not gonna give up. And it's so cute. It makes me very happy. I like all the friendship goals in that book. July, which is Ruby, and that is Blood Red. Name a book that made your blood boil, or one that made you really angry. So I have a couple of books. I never thought I'd be this person who had like books that I despise, but I do have a couple. But the one I'm going to go with here is Damsel. Oh, I've forgotten the author name. It's right here. But I read this a couple of years ago because I thought it was going to be this fantastic story. It's very fairy tale-esque. It's about this world where, you know, princes have to save princesses from dragons, and then that princess will marry the prince, and like it's very feminist as well. It's been told to me as like a very feminist story. So like there's a lot of bits about this book of like the beginning was decent. It's told in a very like fantastical fairy tale way, but like it's supposed to make you mad. Like some of the stuff that they say to our main female character, because it's a time where like men were always right and women were there to basically just have kids. And so like a lot of the stuff that she goes through and a lot of the stuff that's being said to her, you're angry because like, how dare they? But then when you get to the end, it was the worst ending I've ever read. I ranted for hours about this book, and like, it's just, I don't understand the purpose of what the author did at the end, because we learn about why the dragons do the things that they do, how the princesses get in the castle with the dragon, and like kind of all of that world, because she's never told, she doesn't remember being in the castle, she only remembers being saved, and the prince obviously knows what happened, and so it's just a very messed up ending explanation of what, you know, happens, and like I'm all for girl power and like that's fantastic, but that's not what happened with this book. I don't know, it didn't sit right with me how it ended, and yeah, I really don't like this book. Alright, the next one is for August, and that is PERIDOT, I believe is how you pronounce it, and that's pale green. It pales in comparison to other gems. So name a supporting character who you liked better than the main character. So for me, I'm going to go with Harriet, who is the best friend of Emma by Jane Austen. Emma is like very much a, I don't know, strong-willed, I'm gonna do, it's my way or the highway kind of thing, and Harriet's just along for the ride. And so Emma very much annoys me, and like I get that I know this story, so like I know what happens in the end, and like you're not supposed to hate her at the beginning, but I kind of really despise Emma. And so Harriet is like the sweetest little bean ever. Like she's super naive. She doesn't understand like half of what's happening to her. She's very persuasive, or she's not persuasive, but like she can be persuaded really easily, and so like she may not be the best strong-willed character, if you will, but like she's a sweetheart, and like you just want the best for her, and she's just kind of like there living her life trying to survive, and like you as the reader are sitting there going, oh my god, Emma, will you just listen to you who you claim is your best friend? She's better in my opinion. Next one is September, or Sapphire, Blue Like the Ocean, which is calming. So name a book that has a calming effect on you. I don't know if this book would have a calming effect on everyone, but it has a calming effect on me. And that's Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I think the first time I read this, I wouldn't say it had a calming effect on me, because for the first half of the book I didn't know what was happening, and then for the second half of the book I was very interested in what was happening. And for me, I think this book is very much one of those books that like everyone has that favorite book that they love to reread, and every time they get back into the pages it's just kind of like very calming. It feels like you're going back home, going back to characters and places that you love. That's Pride and Prejudice for me. I love these characters, even the ones that annoy me like Mr. Collins, so like it's just very calming to come back to. So that's my answer. For October, which is Opal, or Iridescent, name an iridescent book that can be a book that is beautiful, like whether it's shiny or things like that, or it can be based off of a character, you know, something like that. I'm going to go with a very shiny book, and that is Sister Song by Lucy Holland. I recently got this book, but can you see all of the gold foiling on this? Oh, she is stunning. I really need to read this book because like I think it's going to be incredible, but like this cover, it just shines. And so yeah, I hope that the story itself is as beautiful and shiny as this cover is. Alright, the next one is November, and that is Topaz, which is associated with resilience, and this is to name a book with a character who rises to the top in a time of adversity. So this is really hard for me. I had like a bunch of different answers. I didn't know which one to go with, but I've officially made a decision, and I'm going to go with Moxie by Jennifer Matu, because our main character, Vivian, this whole book is basically about Vivian being fed up with the sexist ways of her high school, and she starts this publication that's very feminist, and she leaves it in the bathrooms, and it kind of creates this movement and grows, and there's a lot of people at her school that were hiding specific things about them and their past and like things that have been done to them, and they all kind of come out in the open. So I would say this one because she has a lot of pushback from the school. She has a lot of pushback from particularly the football team, because this town is all about the football team. So all of those boys, and even the principal, I think, is kind of a dick. But like her mom was very like yay feminism, and so she kind of, without even meaning to, starts an entire movement. So yeah, that's my answer, because I feel like I'm gonna say this one just because there's a lot of pushback from the community, there's a lot of pushback from the school, and it just kind of grows this movement. That's pretty great. And the very last question, December, which is blue zircon maybe, which is associated with friendship. Name a book with a friendship you want to be a part of. This one's a little weird, but I'm going to go with The Friend Group from Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. It is the friend group for Luke, who is the rock star's son. So this book follows Luke. It's from his perspective, and this boy named Oliver, and they both basically are complete opposites, but they do need dates or to look like they're dating people for X, Y, and Z reasons. So they start fake dating and actually go on dates and like get to know each other a little bit more, and it's their story. But like Luke's friendship group is incredible, and like I don't think I would actually be friends with these people in real life. I think they would annoy the crap out of me, but I loved like reading about them, and like I want to be part of that. You know, like I don't think we'd actually work, but I want it to be a thing. They're just like sassy. A lot of them are part of the LGBTQ plus community, so like you've already got that on there, and like they're just super sassy and sarcastic, and like the banter between them is like, it's like what you want. Like they're making fun of each other, but in a way that you're like, aw, that's sweet. So that's my answer. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this tag. Please let me know down below like what your birthstone month question, what your answer would be to that question. Did I make that very complicated? Possibly. But if you did like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to go check all of those out. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!